Okay, guys, we're back again for another episode, and today we'll be discussing camera emotions and discussing how we can actually use tools to be able to communicate effectively. And I'm here with my key group, Ebere, and we'll be walking through a couple of tools. So you can tell us, what do you think we should do today?
So actually, we are trying to see how we can explore on the different importance between the Cinetech dolly, the Dana dolly, and perhaps the Matador, and then see how we can get different motions and then what each and every of those equipment could definitely, gives us in terms of trying to project a kind of a cinematic experience.
So we've kind of set up a small scene, right? Between two young couples. One is in detention for something she may or may not have done. And they're like having this, and we're gonna like have the revelation of her bondage come on the table when she brings up the handcuff to the table. And something we're trying to do is, like I said, cinematographer, right? When you're asked to like determine the camera emotion for this scene, first of all, most of us just default to tripod. So what we're trying to do is use several tools to capture this same scene and repeat it and see how do we connect emotions? What's the string line of emotions that exist when we use a certain tool versus a certain tool versus other tools that exist? So we will film them all together and combine the footage and see how that goes. This is our first scene of 3 scenes that we'll try out. And at the end, we could probably have like a summary conversations that hopefully you'd be enlightened as to why we choose certain tools to be able to make cinematic judgments. And our key group is here to help us with the scene, and we're going to like dive into it and we're going to have fun.
Okay, so let's go in and then see how it
So
works,
we'll go in and try to start doing it. We'll set it up. There's a little bit of lighting, just something simple, nothing much. One backlight, a little bit of edge light from the light we're having here. So it's not like a lighting conversation. And we're going to go on the camera. So the first tool we're starting is the biggest of all, which is the Cinematography dolly. Then we'll move to the doorway dolly. Then we'll move to the Dana dolly, and then we'll move to the tripod. And when you edit a film, when you cut, it's like blinking, right? And sometimes when an emotion is unbroken and it's just steadily connected, like you see in those one-ers, it helps keeps the audience glued to like what's happening next, as opposed to the blink that happens. So I want to see like at what point that becomes an advantageous communication weapon, or at what point is it like the standard traditional of like cut. Not like cutting is bad, it's just how do we draw our audience in and make them more tied into the situation. That's what all these experiments about. So we'll be on the other side and you get to see what we're doing. Yeah, so the gist is sweet. You're emotional about it. Yeah, we're good with light. And action. And going in, and halt. Now boom down. And hand on table. Perfect. And halt. Yep, I think we had it on this take. So I believe we'll go on to the next shot and bring in the doorway dolly. Yeah, so on this one, we're now like on the next dolly setup, which is like the Matador kind of style of dolly, where you have like just the tripods and the skater box, but also have like the tracks to be able to do what we're doing. So we're going to attempt the same shot and see how possible it is for us to recreate what we just shot now. So let's give it a go. Ready? And action. Going in, and halt. Now tilt down. And up. Awesome. I like the fact they held hands in this one. Did you hold hands in the last two? Oh yeah, okay, so let's say playback. We come into the shot, same way. Tilt down because we cannot boom down. You can see how that is a major difference in terms of being immersed into the story. And we'll come back up. The weight of that emotion did not really register as much as
kind of dragging, kind of rigid, kind of
really, there's a disconnect.
Yeah, there's a disconnect between
emotionally.
Yeah,
but it works. It's not like if you have this, but yeah, it's just a little bit of immersiveness when you compare both. We'll put them on screen for you to see. So now we'll try the Dana dolly and see how it works. Okay, so we're going to be doing the next scene on the Dana dolly, right? And this is also a tool that's available to most filmmakers on every pedigree. We have just 2 pipes and a skater dolly wheels to be able to like get smooth motion movement. I'll try and replicate the shot and see how this is also similar context, similar precision, but slightly different in motion. So yeah, we'll be taking in the scene now. Okay, so now we'll try the scene again, but with the tripod. Same scene, nothing has changed. We'll put them side by side. When we put them side by side, we get to see how different tools either immerse you in the storytelling or keeps you a little bit objective or brings you into the emotion of the character. And when we compare all of this in post, you would hear my own commentary on what I see or what I think. And you could also like leave in the comments on what you see and what you think, okay? So we're now switching it to the tripod. So we start talking and we roll on this white to be able to get like the scene's mood and everything we do. And then we cut on this right about now. Then we reset the frame to when we come in for her. And down and up. And cut. Now, this is my take on the results as we go into it. This is the Cinematography dolly. It's a very grounded move. You can see there's no wag from left and right play from the camera, and it booms down smoothly to be able to like change perspective. This flexibility is why I love this piece of tech. The tool itself allows things to actually, if you watch now, you see that steady wag that happens. Forgive me, I think our bubble level was not so bubble, but yeah, apart from that, there's this small wag left and right that happens. You can rewind back the video to see it again. It occurs every time, even when it's on the Dana dolly. You can see it again. So it's never smooth. If you go and watch, I don't know, a bunch of our Nigerian films that are on Netflix, you see this wag there, and this is where it comes from. Tools that are being used, because it takes a lot to get that finesse. There are other ways you can eliminate it though, but it's not as easy or as weighted as the move from the dolly that you see. The tripod seems to be the one that's not suffering from the wag, but yeah, that's just something I have noticed. There's this precision that the dolly brings, this weighted move as though it's like a techno crane, like a movie machine. These are my observations though. You can see it now when you compare it between both. It's very obvious when you're doing the side-by-side comparison. So I would keep quiet now and allow you to enjoy the rest of it. And I want to see your comments on other observations that you noticed, and also possibly the next best thing that you could use if you couldn't have access to the dolly. That's also something I'd like to see from what we did. Okay? So we're setting up the next scene where we'll try something interesting out of one of those art heist movie. In this case, we would have our male talent that's in the first scene do like a creepy, squatty crawl and go pick up something from the table. And he's going to get suspicious and check, is there something under the table? And before he takes it, there's a moment of hesitation and he takes it. It's just a simple scene, no context, nothing more. But we're going to try each tools and see who's going to measure up, who's going to get us connected to the audience, who's going to make it a lot more engaging for us, and how that's going to work out for us at the end of the day.
Yeah, so all this is trying to like showcase the versatility of the dolly compared to other gears whereby one could also choose to like use and then achieve these similar shots.
As a DP, right, something that you have to also think about is speed. So what we've done to the dolly, we just added, on top of the dolly that has like the lateral movement and also the vertical movement of up and down and also the ability to track, we've also added in a, you can call it a Z-axis because we added a slide on top of the dolly that also allows us to like come in a bit apart from the up and down and the track that takes us in and out. Now we can also go in the Z-axis a little bit to be able to like have such versatility.
Yeah.
This would be like a tripod, a slider, and some other things we're supposed to do. But all of this can happen right now in one complex move.
Yeah,
so hopefully we get this on the first trial and we get to see how this contributes. So let's get into the scene, okay? And we'll go from there. Ready? Rolling camera and action. Boom down. So now we've just made a creative choice to maintain the same camera height we had similarly to the dolly. The hybrid dolly gave us the advantage to actually boom vertically down to reframe the shot without having to change setups. So we'll try and repeat the same thing and see what we can do when we get there. Because when we get there, we may have to cut, reset the camera level, and now continue the shot as a pickup shot. Okay, so let's go. And action. Slow down, allow us to track you. Yep. That's it, that's the move. When we get to the table. So now let's try this now with the slider.
With the slider.
So now we're now setting this up on the skater slider Dana dolly, right? It has skater wheels and still gives us the same fluid movement, one of the tools, and we're still going to try and repeat the same action from the talent and see how we can use the tools to get into the space. So this would give us the window into seeing what's possible in terms of camera motion, how each different grip tool can either contribute or take away from the immersiveness of the experience. That's what we're just trying to achieve here and see how that works across different tools. So now we're going to like have him be in position, roll cameras, and action. Okay.
So there is a limitation to what you can do with.
Obviously, there's like a huge limitation because a couple of things was not possible for us from this.
Yeah.
We couldn't look at him at a certain way. We couldn't come in closer to heighten the moment. We could not even come down to his eye level to be immersive with it at the same level. And if we had to do that, we'd have to repeat the same shot, but take the setup and find a way to lower it down.
Yeah.
And on set, time is money. That's like another setup within a day, and how to make the light good and continuity and consistency. All the complications that come with that could have been easily achieved if we had tools that allows us to focus more on the story than on all of this. Yeah. I'm sure you'll be asking why we didn't introduce, that's the plane, sorry. I'm sure you'll be asking why we didn't introduce a gimbal into this. Well, that's a different camera language, because when we get to that section, we'll discuss gimbals. Right now, we're just like focusing our territories around grip tools that would allow us actually contribute to the story. Each tool comes with certain camera emotions that are not obvious. But I hope as you're comparing this, you're able to like contrast and compare between certain tools, their limitations, what it takes to adapt to their limitations, and put you in the frame of mind of what, as a cinematographer, the camera emotion of a story and what each tool brings to the play. Okay. So let's go do the tripod now. And action. Okay, so let's take the camera and bring it there. And action. And you leave. Okay, now let's repeat that action, but closer. Okay. Now come again. Now try and pick it. Squat, squat, squat. Let's see. Come, like you're at the point of picking it. Okay, so let me find that frame. Okay, yes, found it here. Ready? And action. You try and pick it. And you leave. Now that took us about 3 setups to be able to
achieve that.
Try and achieve that, something as similar as that.
Right, yeah.
But now we're going to try a third scene, a simple scene, a guy and a girl holding hands, and the camera goes from the hand to the face. And that'll be like a third scene in comparison series of how the grip tools contributes to camera emotions. Do you have anything to say about the limitations or our experience of this one?
I think there are 2 outstanding things I could really say about the Cinetech dolly and then the rest of the camera supporting case. Like looking at the economics of it, like being like having that sense of comfort, and then, like compared to the Dana dolly, and then probably it gives me, like it's something that every cinematographer should actually, really consider, when they're actually making their choice in terms of the keys that they are actually, like opt out for.
Well, it's important that we all learn how to even use them, because if you never use them, you would not know how to maximize.
Exactly. So you'd be like wondering
all the contributions into it.
Why should I even go for it?
Now to my own take on the next scene that we'll be watching. One of the beautiful things about this grip equipment called the Cinematography dolly is the ease of perspective change that can actually occur at moment's notice. And it's a gift because it transports your audience to see a different section of the world. And mounting the slider gives us that extended reach for the Z-axis, like you can see. That brings us more closer to the character and make the experience more engaging. So if you look at the same move now with the doorway dolly, we're a little bit more objective by the time we get to the perspective shift, because all we can do is just tilt. It's also a great tool considering the limitation that you're locked in and you can't go as low and actually see what the character sees, where it's not as immersive as the first tool. And same translates when you look at the other tools you get. And there's not even that push to heighten the moment or call attention to the importance or the significance of the stethoscope. The Dana dolly has a shorter stroke, because the limitation of the pipes we had, we didn't have like long pipes to stretch it across, but you get the same idea of the same limitation that both cameras offers. And there's this less smoothness that it's not as smooth if you go back and rewind back and compare it to the hybrid dolly that was being used, the hydraulic dolly itself. Our good old tripod enables us to do the blinking thing. We cut, pick up the shot. That's like the second setup, and we're moving again for a third setup, which just adds to the time on set that requires to actually achieve a shot that can be done in one fell swoop. That gives you more time to be creative. Now this is a compare and shot whereby you can either block one side of the screen or rewind to actually compare and pay attention to the details at each section of the scene to see where each tool shines and where each tool falls short. That's not to say that the hybrid dolly is the be all and know all, but you have to be able to, as a cinematographer, set up yourself for success and design situations that allow your tool to excel absolutely. And I would allow the video playthrough while you watch the rest of it, and leave me comments in the comment section what you thought about the second scene and what are your own observations you noticed that I did miss out on.
So we set up our curve track now so we can get rid of all the straights. We don't need any more straights again.
So now, course, like
As many curves as possible. Okay. Rolling camera. Ready? And action.
She makes her appearance every day, and every day it's the same old play.
And
She's the main character, the heartbreaker, the savior,
And we
and
have
the
the shot.
one that got away.
we have the shot. So now let's try it now with the doorway dolly. On the doorway dolly, we'll try and do a tilt because that's the only thing that we can do. Part of all these experiments is actually learning and figuring most of these things out by ourselves to know how each camera motion translates. That's what all these experiments are about. So as soon as we set up the doorway dolly, we're going to move into the next shot. Thank you for helping us out. Appreciate that. Appreciate you too.
My life
And
is like a
go.
theater where she makes her appearance every day, and every day it's the same old play.
Hold.
She's the main character, the heartbreaker, the savior, and the one that
cut.
got away.
So what we can try and do is do the dolly and make it a diagonal shot. Even if we don't get a curve, we get some kind of diagonal move with them. Then the stick will just be an establishing shot. Just two of them, full shot. That's what the stick will be able to capture. So let's do that. Ready?
My life is like a
And
theater
action.
where she makes her appearance every day, and every day it's the same old play. She's the main character, the heartbreaker, the savior, and the
Yep.
one that got away.
That's it. For our last shot. It's going to take us a minute. I think for this one, no, this is okay. We'll just stick with the strongest possible frame. Find it somewhere here. Oh, it lands there. Okay. Ready? Hands holding.
My life
And
is
that's
like
it.
a theater where she makes her appearance every day, and every day it's the same old play. She's the main character, the heartbreaker, the savior, and the one that got
Okay.
it away.
So, Barry, what do you think? We just shot 3 scenes, right, with 4 different tools. And in terms of the stress level of getting it, how would you rate them?
Okay, yeah. So I will say that the two outstanding thing for me, as I keep saying, is actually the how economics the Cinetech dolly is compared to the tripod that we did used, the Dana dolly, and perhaps the matter, the skateboard that we also use. Definitely, you can see how comfort, like you were actually seated on the dolly. And
Yes,
then,
that's that.
So you see how flexible, like it gives you more room to like for you to like think of the next line of option, like compared to you trying to like coordinate yourself while trying to like move your body, like trying to like do the same thing that you did while you were using, like the Cinetech, like compared to while you were actually using the Dana dolly.
Sure.
So yeah, it gives you that ability for you to like do or think of more ideas of which you can, like maximize in terms
I think the
of
biggest thing for me that one of the biggest takeaway for me is the fact that looking at the camera, we used like a small lens that could autofocus, so we didn't have a focus puller. But if you look at the camera, by the time you start working 14 hours or 12 hours, this thing becomes heavy.
Okay.
And as a DP, finding your angles, it's very important because it's one of the ways you actually shape the perspective of how the picture you're shooting emotionally will go. And this tool, the ability for me to just vertically move and find a perspective that works for me without having to, if it's a tripod, you have to jack it and carry it up.
And you need, that time and
that patience.
Shows, like that professionalism for you having, like 3.
For me, it's the patience.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
normally you just default to whatever the tripod.
You get the point.
There are several movies that has been shot that they did not even take time to find perspective. Is that the height of the tripod? Okay. Is that the height of the low point?
Most time, don't forget that the DP might consider, okay, fine, I would have loved to like have this height, but because of time, no, okay, forget about it. And then, like, but with these, you can, like having your crib, like your dolly crib, like beside you, you can as well, like easily, like, take, like the camera to any level, camera level height.
True.
And then prop, and then that makes
There's efficiency.
Yeah, that makes it so simple.
Yeah.
Like compared to you using, like compared to you using, the Matador, and then to achieve the same thing. So the flexibility, like is outstanding for me.
I think for me, I would say my final thoughts on this are being a storyteller without being exhausted, because most of your best ideas do not come when you're exhausted. When you're exhausted is when you're now like giving into, let's just get the shot.
Yeah.
Let's just get the shot.
Yeah.
And the ability not to be able to operate from that.
So it's hard to the production value, by the time you actually use a gear that is actually, giving you that comfort and then reduce that fatigue, definitely, like you definitely, like have more to like keep into that very scene, and
True.
The output can never be,
because you're not operating from a place of
exactly tiredness, like so the output would definitely be different compared to you using, like some other, gears.
So hopefully you've walked with us throughout this entire scene, myself and my dolly grip that we created for you to actually see camera emotions and how each tool could contribute or take away from your storytelling, and some of the amazing advantages and disadvantages that could also come with different tools. So it's my hope that next time you're on set, try improvising, adapt, and become a storyteller.
And also don't forget that
it's available for rent if you want to. Shameless plug.
Don't also forget that, like your movement, camera movement also determine the mood, the feelings that definitely your audience would definitely, like absorb.
True.
So yeah, so if you don't play, much on, like how your camera movement, like seems like, come on, you might not really have that value in terms of, like the outputs at the end of the day.
Yeah. Thank you very much for helping me out with this.